Just finished our last selections to put a bow to this part of the 2023 draft process. We had a really good day three. We added Jay Ward, Jay Roy, Jaron Hall, and Dwayne McBride. Really excited to add those guys. They bring a lot of talent to our rooms, a lot of versatility, a lot of production, and again, we always talk about fit in our culture and what we're trying to build, and those guys all do. Really excited to add them and obviously get to this free agent process and also add to our group there. And with that, open up to questions.
Please add your name in the chat and we'll call on you right now. First person, just go ahead. Alec, we'll have you start off.
Hey, Kwesi. Just wanted to see what kind of background you have on Dwayne McBride. What did you guys see there, and kind of can you take us through the process of landing on him in the seventh?
Sure. He was somebody we had fairly high up on our board, kind of a starter grade, somebody that, obviously carried the ball a lot, was really productive. I think a lot of times in college, a lot of times the running backs aren't used in the passing game, so maybe there were some questions on his ability. But Coach Modkins has been doing this a long time and coached some really good ones, and he kind of knows what to look for in those limited opportunities when you get a chance, and he's super connected with running back coaches. So we had some good intel that he's got more pass game value than he showed. But, I think there was some ball security issues at times, but other than that, really good contact balance, super productive, like I said, ability to create at the line of scrimmage, but also, turn a good run into a great run. So we're really excited to add him.
Next, we'll go with Kevin, Matthew, and then Brian.
Yeah, Kwesi, now that you're on the other side of the draft here and you took the quarterback and you can sort of factor that in, I'm just curious how you sort of articulate what your plan is at that position in the longer term. Knowing the contract situations and all the things we've talked about.
Sure. Yeah. You can have a long-term plan in terms of understanding how important it is and what you need to do in that room. But for me to tell you that this person will specifically be in a certain performance bucket at a certain place, I can't do that. But we know that we added a really talented player that we think has tremendous upside in this league. You talk about the things that we look for at the quarterback position: ability to make good decisions, throw the football accurately, deal with conflict when it comes his way, and then sometimes try to make a play outside the framework of the play call. And he does all those things at a really good level. I don't know if you've already heard from him, but that's an outstanding young man. I'd like to see him lead my team or any other, organization I was a part of. As part of this process, we really dig in. So I've watched an insane amount of YouTube videos of him talking. I got to go see him play in person. And so really excited to get him. Again, still a little bit surprised I was able to do it where I was.
I'm sorry, just to follow up real quick, to the YouTube videos, to hear how he's talking, what do you kind of get out of that?
A person's presence, when they win, what do they say? Who do they credit? When they lose, different things. And there's no right or wrong answer, but you just really learn how somebody is as a competitor, what they value. I think if you heard me talk, I'm sure you hear the weird math words come up a bunch of times because those things are important to me, right? So if you listen to somebody else talk and you hear those things and you know what's important to him, and I think what's important to him is the right stuff at the quarterback position.
Hey, Kwesi, just wondering on Jay Ward specifically. He played so many different positions in college at LSU. I guess I wonder about the evaluation process and trying to see how that translates when he was sometimes in the nickel, sometimes at safety, sometimes in the box, and just kind of how you valued that.
Yeah, I think, and I can't speak for other teams, I could see maybe that being a negative, a hard thing to do. But I think when I step back and I evaluated the guys and I saw our guys in the meeting, and there was – people write them as a best position, right? They get to choose, and people wrote him as best position at 3 different positions, and they all thought he had starter potential. So I kind of stepped back and was like, well, if this guy could be a starter at 3 different positions, it's pretty likely that he figures out one of them as long as we have a plan for him, and he's a good hard worker, and we know what kind of person he is with obviously with the experience with Durante at LSU. So really excited to have him, and again, as a general manager, the flexibility that he gives you in that room, emergency value at 3 different positions, in addition to whatever position he ends up being a starter position, is, you only get 46 on game days, going through that as the first time as a general manager, and having somebody that can really fill in and step in, a la Duke Shelley last year, who we counted on to play multiple positions for us. is something that I value greatly.
Kwesi, are you saying that you had 3 people in your organization view him at as a starter at different positions?
Just everybody, scouts, personnel, a lot of different people, everybody watches him, and then they get to choose what they think his best position is. So, think for an offensive lineman, hey, we might project him as a center. Somebody might think he's a guard or a tackle. With Jay Ward, some people thought he could probably be a starter at cornerback. Some people thought he could be a deep safety, a box safety, a nickel. And that, I think, his versatility just really showed through that process.
So how important was versatility as you looked at this draft and maybe what Brian Flores is telling you?
I would say it's a big part of what they do. It's a big part, obviously what I've looked for in the past, but especially in his defense, he is so good at optimizing people's skill sets, and he will match personnel. He will match different schemes, and giving him weapons to do so is, ultimately my job, and I'm happy to do so for him.
Ben?
Kwesi, when you talk about watching videos to see how guys carry themselves and the way they talk about things, is that something that you place more of an emphasis on at the quarterback position, knowing the base of the franchise leadership type responsibilities that are inherent with that position?
Certainly. I can't tell you that I do that for every position, and not saying that it doesn't get done, but I wouldn't say that I personally would, be doing such things. I think the battery of questions that we ask them is a little different, but again, that's a leadership position. Obviously, leadership can come from anyone on a football team, but there's something different about commanding the huddle and making people believe that you can operate this play. And so that's something we look for. And obviously, having been around some great ones, including our starting quarterback right now, you know what it sounds like and know what it looks like. So you're just trying to find people who match that.
Alec, Matt, do you think Kevin?
Yeah, Kwesi, I think this was your first draft back with Demetrius. I just wondered, how much do you value having his voice among your decision makers, and what does he provide that maybe that made you so interested in bringing him along with you?
He's one of the most talented people I've met in the NFL. I would probably say just in general, one of the most talented people I've ever met. I think there is a hunger. So I would consider myself a curious person. He is just hungry to figure out what could be missing. So I don't know if we come at it from the same reason, but I know when he brings me an answer, he's vetted every possible what if, what could be, what am I missing? And so the safety that I feel and anything he's telling me, he's the one type of person. If he believes something that I don't, I stop and maybe re-go and re-look at my process. We shared an office together, so he knows the very inner workings of how I think and see the game. And honestly, we learned it together in a great place in San Francisco. So, again, you talk about somebody like Jay Ward. We were around Jimmy Ward. And so a player that was used in a similar fashion, drafted as a safety, played nickel as a rookie, played outside corner, eventually became a Pro Bowl free safety. So he saw him and he was kind of joking. He's like, hey, his last name is Ward. That funny, but then ultimately we end up drafting the player. And, again, that starts with him. And obviously we have a great scouting staff, but just having somebody like that in your corner is, so invaluable. And again, don't get me started talking about the rest of those guys. We have a great staff here, and I'm so fortunate to have them.
Kwesi, kind of along those same lines, just this being your second draft, I mean, what was the biggest difference maybe between last year when it was your first time approaching it and then having already seen the process, how it goes, the lead up to it, and command that kind of all yourself through this whole thing?
Yeah, I would say the thing that you just felt so much more prepared. I can't say that I watched so many more players. We were so more strategic about parts of the board that we thought would be available to us, knowing our roster, knowing our needs. And every single player that was in our queue, we all had an idea, a good hypothesis for why they would make our team better, make our team to begin with, and then make our team better, the character, all these different things. It just felt like we, as an organization, were just so much more aligned. But there's also a part of it that's got that element of 50 First Dates? What's that movie where Adam Sandler and he dates the same girl? Every date's different. Because that first round comes and you forget what the first round was like last year in a sense, right? It's a year ago, and the butterflies start coming again, and is that guy going to be there? That's not something you can really simulate throughout the year, and maybe my 10th year will come and that won't be there. I don't know. But that's the type of thing that I think will probably maybe always be there year 2 or year 10.
Yeah, I'm going to keep drilling down on quarterback position and just kind of wanted to get an idea of how you're going to view and think about the position over the next 8 to 10 months or whenever the next season is going to be over. I mean, are you trying to decide if you want Kirk to be the starter beyond that point? Is there information that you still need to see and process, or?
No. Kirk doesn't need to show anything to me. Kirk has played football at a high level before I got to the Minnesota Vikings. Last year, we won 13 games. I don't know what he would need to prove to me or anybody else. When you go into a contract negotiation, you're trying to come up with solutions together. It's not just what Kwesi wants or the Vikings want, or it's even what Kirk wants. What we can do together, it ultimately puts together that Lombardi. And sometimes you come to a place where you decide, hey, let's talk later. This is a solution for now. That's all that's happened. And then this year in this draft, we found an opportunity to get a player that we frankly thought should have been picked long before then, and it was there, just like every other position. But like you said, this is an important position, so obviously you emphasize that when you can. But we like where we are at the quarterback position, but every option is open to us going forward, and we're just really excited about Kirk this year, the weapons we've added in free agency, the weapons we've added in the draft, and we'll see what happens after that.
Craig and then Andrew.
With Roy's kind of versatility on the interior of the line, and then maybe projecting what he could possibly do. I mean, he's only a 1-year starter, but what do you see in his game and what that can add to that group and rotation?
Exactly what you said. It's, he's got the ability to be stout at the point of attack, play nose tackle, but he's also got a little wiggle in his body. He can rush the passer. And obviously you've seen in free agency these past couple of years, with the contracts and some of those guys up in there, it's really hard to chip on the edges, slide one way. Somebody's going to get a 1-on-1. It's typically that guy. To have somebody with some pass rush value from that spot is really helpful. But we've got some guys on this roster already who can do that as well. But just adding another body to that presence is something we want to do, and we're excited to have them.
Hey, Kwesi, I just wanted to see if this draft here gave you any clarity on Dalvin Cook and Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, obviously we're keeping the communication open with both those guys. And like I said earlier, we're always just trying to find solutions for both them and us, and we'll continue to do so. Again, the dialogue will remain open with them.
Last question for Kwesi.
Thanks, guys.